You ready? Hello and welcome to Talk. Oh man. Today is Sunday, September 27th, 2020, season 4, episode 39. I'm Eric Murphy.
I'm Vi La Bianca.
Hey V, how's it going?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
I got really excited last night.
I saw you posting about it. You found an article. You want to talk about that?
I do a lot of research for my channel, and I was reading this article, and it was getting me really excited, and I felt like such a nerd. And then I was drinking, and I call you, and like it's like 10 at night. I'm like, you need to come over. I need to tell you about this article on the neural processes of cognitive bias right now.
Yeah, and we proceeded to have a conversation about it. Yeah, it's fun. And I think we're actually going to be using that today.
It's possible
in one of our calls.
It is very possible.
But before we dive into calls, a couple quick regular announcements. First off, before we do that, how was your week?
Good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. How about you?
Good. I put out a video with us, and other than that, just working hard. So yeah, I think that's about it. Okay, cool. Then let's dive into regular announcements.
Sounds good.
So looks like we've got some awesome callers who are already waiting on the line. But if you are a religious person, you want to call in, you can call 512-991-9242 or toll free, go to tiny.cc/callth to call online. And yeah, join the queue. Come talk to us. Other than that, Talk Heathen is a product of the atheist community of Austin. It's a 501c3 nonprofit. And if you like what we do, you can support us by going to patreon.com/talkheathen to me. At 2/3 of the way through the episode, I think our top 5 patrons, I actually have Patreon up right now. I refresh it and I read those top 5 names. So if you want to hear your name read today, go to patreon.com/talkheathen to me. That's patreon.com/talkheathen to me.
It's nice to take the training wheels off and watch you go.
It took me a little bit to memorize that whole bit, isn't it? Yeah. At least I don't have to do the, we're at 1507 West Koenig Lane. Hopefully, eventually, but.
Eventually.
Yeah, Austin, Texas.
One day. We're not giving you this address. Sorry.
No. Okay. So I think we should dive right into calls. Is there anything else that I'm forgetting?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
Yeah, if we have time, we'll hop into the Discord to talk to people. Right after.
Usually, if we're able to wrap up about 15 minutes before top of the hour, we'll jump into Discord. So depending on how many calls we get here, we may take a couple over there. We may jump straight over there.
Absolutely. All right. With that said, I really want to start off by talking to Jordan in North Carolina. Jordan, you're live with Eric and V. What would you like to talk about today?
Hi, guys. So basically, I'm questioning my beliefs right now.
Okay.
I don't know what I would define myself as right now. I definitely am not a firm believer in God or in Christianity, but for some reason, as much of my logic mind is like, dude, God isn't real and religion is mostly bogus. I have this feeling in the back of my mind that is, I don't know if I want to label it as a gut feeling or just some sort of feeling that it's like the Christian God is real. And I don't know what to do with that feeling. And it's kind of getting in the way of this new relationship I have with this guy. He's not religious and I'm not religious, but it's like, I don't know my religious beliefs. So should I even be dating right now? So I just wanted to kind of talk through these feelings with you guys.
Yeah, that is a great topic.
And it dives right into our conversation last night.
Well, kind of, yeah.
So just to start out, only you know when you're ready for a relationship. That said, this is a journey that's going to take a lifetime. Yeah. And so if you're wondering, do I have to have X boxes checked before I'm ready? I don't think that's a problem.
Right. You're never going to get to a point where you're like, okay, I know exactly what my thoughts are about all of these topics and I'm never going to change them again. And now I'm ready to start dating somebody or start getting into relationships. So I think that if it's actively negatively impacting your ability to have a relationship, that's certainly something to think about. But you don't need all the answers. You don't need to be a quote unquote finished person in order to have a relationship with somebody else.
Exactly. Now, to dive into the topic itself,
Mm-hmm.
Jordan, you are super not alone. It is an evolutionary thing that is built into us. Our lizard brain, that part of us that reacts quickly and automatically, it's what saved us from, predators in the jungle. Just the gut reaction of, I thought I saw a predator, right? And so having that feeling is definitely something that we all have, and you've trained yourself to put God in that place.
Yeah.
And this isn't just, okay, never mind, I don't believe it anymore. You can cognitively get there pretty quickly, but emotionally process that, you do have those neural pathways that have just been built in your brain, and they're still in use, and it takes a lot of time. And cognitive behavioral therapy helps a lot with that. But what you kind of have there is a little bit of cognitive dissonance. You have two distinct ideas that cannot live in the same place at the same time because they contradict each other in your head. And it is a weird, rough place to be. But it says a lot about you that you're willing to look at it and go, hey, there's a problem here.
Right. Yeah. So why do you think it's like, I'll be having such a good time, right? I'll be laughing with my friends, or I'll be doing something, and then I'll be like, oh, Jordan, you're not accepting God. Like, what are you doing? Why? I just don't understand it. And then I think, oh, it's because God is trying to pull me in or something like that. That's why it won't escape me. And that's what I struggle with.
Yeah. And that is exactly what they want you to struggle with. That is the narrative that has been set up for you. You have this second narrative in your head because you have been exposed to it so consistently before you decided to move away from it. It's the same thing if you grew up in an abusive household where your parents told you weren't good enough, or you were stupid, or you weren't attractive, or whatever that script is, you internalize that, and that comes into every situation, and it can take you out of it, right? I can be enjoying being with my friends and having fun, and then all of a sudden a script starts playing. Maybe someone said something to set it off. Maybe I saw something or smelled something that subconsciously reminded me of a past memory, and then all of a sudden I'm in my own head and I'm out of it. And that is something that is not exclusive to religion, but religion certainly is a part of that. If that's a script that you were taught as a kid, then that is something that is still playing in the back of your mind. And the trick here is that the people who put that script in your head also are the ones who told you that's actually God talking to you. So you should listen to that script, and you should make that script the thing that you base your decisions on. So they not only programmed that into you, they also told you that it was from somewhere else in order to get their point across. And I'm not saying this was an intentional thing, right? This might not be an intentional lie. They may believe it. They may deeply believe it and be perpetuating this harmful worldview without meaning to.
What that actually makes me think of is parents who were beaten as children saying, oh, well, I'm going to hit my kids too. Why? Because it's the only way that I know how to parent. I turned out fine.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have something to replace it with, you're going to find yourself in that spot. And the only thing you have is that old script. And even though you know that old script isn't working anymore, you don't have anything new to put in its place.
Right.
And so that could be a really good red flag for you to go, hey, you know what? There's an area here that I don't have filled out. And I always plugged it in with God, but now I need to think about it some more. So you could use that as kind of a beneficial signpost on the road of your life going, every time I go down this road, I find, this exit and kind of help you navigate.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. So what just like general advice would you give me?
I think cognitive behavioral therapy is a great tool for this.
Yeah.
Not just for religion and indoctrination, but just in general, being able to change those neural pathways very deliberately with the help of a person who is experienced in this area and can actually teach you the techniques is more beneficial than what strangers on the internet can say. But in addition, I would say, don't trust yourself that much. If that makes sense. Don't say, oh, I know that God is talking to me. Or, oh, this is my first thought, therefore it is the best thought. Sometimes religious people will place a lot of precedence and a lot of importance on your instinct, right? Your first thought. That first thing that comes into your mind isn't you, that's God, or that's a demon, or that's somehow given to you from the outside, and that's what you need to listen to. And if you think too much about it, then you start doubting, you start questioning. That's not good. Embrace that doubt, embrace that questioning. If you see, oh, I think God gave this thought to me, sit back with that and say, okay, well, why do I think this? And it's going to be a process. It's not going to happen overnight. But if you slowly start introducing that process of thinking about it a little bit more, really digging into it and trying to prove it or disprove it, it's gonna start easing up a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, from the other side of it, yes, don't trust those things as much, and also practice some self-compassion. Don't beat yourself up along the way, because you're human. You're just like all the rest of us, and that's okay. It's just part of your journey. So
thanks, guys. I'm definitely gonna call back with my progress and just to see how things are going.
Definitely.
And definitely,
we're saying definitely a lot.
Definitely.
Jordan, take care. Thank you for calling in.
Of course.
You know what that reminded me of? We were talking about this right before the show started. That fool me once, shame on you. Teach me to fool myself, and I'll be fooled for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I feel like, when you teach yourself how to fool yourself, and those things come in,
right, exactly,
and kick in.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely.
For those of you who don't know where that's from, I'm showing him BoJack Horseman. Because apparently I'm responsible for his media habits at this point.
Apparently, I'm catching up on Star Trek, though, so that's good. All right, so this person sent me a message, actually, right before the show, and it was a huge wall of text, and I said, just call in, please. Let's talk to Todd.
We picked Johan in Sweden.
Johan, sorry about that. We're going to pop you back in the queue, and we will come right back to you.
Give you a little time to prep for that.
Yeah, this one?
Nope, one up.
That one.
Yeah.
Okay. One of these days. Todd, you're live with Eric and V. What would you like to talk about?
Hey, I had something I wanted to talk about, but just to add to what the last caller was talking about, and y'all were talking about the neural pathways. If you look at the caduceus, a lot of people don't understand what the caduceus is. The caduceus is the symbol. Sir?
What is that?
So the caduceus is the symbol for anointing. All right. And I've never found any doctors that really understand what the caduceus means. The two serpents represent force and form. Okay. And when it comes up to the top the ball represents your pineal gland. Okay. And when you pop that pineal gland, that's activating your third eye. Okay. So it's bipolar is what they call it.
Todd?
So once you become bipolar, yes, sir.
Hey, that's enough for an entire conversation. See, here's the thing: is some of these things are non sequiturs. Right? One thing does not logically follow from the other. It's just statement with nothing backing any of them up. And so we're not going to follow you. We actually got off the train pretty early on. And the only way we're going to follow you is if we're able to ask you questions so that we know that we're on the same page. Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just full of so much stuff that
that's okay. That's okay.
We've got many shows in the future. So if we don't get to everything today, then we can call in next week. So just we can pick something.
Yep.
And focus on it.
We just want to make sure that, we're guiding the conversation in a useful way. So you said the pineal gland. Well, actually, no, you don't want to talk about the pineal gland. It says that you want to talk about alien technology from the future. That's what's in the show notes.
Yes. Okay. Basically, the Bible. Everybody has misconceptions of what the Bible is. You know,
But you don't.
Christians go through there and mark true on everything, and a lot of people mark false on everything.
Do you think that you have the true beat on the Bible?
Yes, sir, I do. I really do, because
How did you come up with this?
it was written by Thoth. A lot of people don't know that. Thoth wrote most of the religions that you know of. Okay, and you can find Thoth in Ezekiel 9, 2, and 3 with the inkhorn.
Okay,
And there's a lot of brain science.
Okay, so I'm going to point out more non sequiturs. Are you ready? The Bible.
Yes, sir.
Talking to two people who don't put any weight to the Bible, so I don't give a shit what other people think of the Bible. I don't care whether they think it's true. I don't care whether they. I don't, because I don't hold any of that. So whatever you have to say about the Bible, you might be better off talking to Christians about that. So number one, you made a statement about the Bible that we're not following you on. Number two, you brought up Thoth, and then you just went on with that. Who the fuck is Thoth? First, let's identify a thing, and then we determine whether or not it's probable or likely that it's referred to in the Bible. So who is Thoth?
Okay, Thoth is the scribe to the gods, the god of wisdom. He wrote the Quran. He wrote the Bible. He's Hermes. He's Gabriel. He's Enoch. He's Idris.
Sounds like a supernatural plot.
So Todd, how are you making an actual claim about the world, or are you just telling me a story? Do you actually think that this is a person?
Yes, I think he was an actual being.
Okay, so you think that Thoth has died?
No. We gods. If you look at gods as programs, like in the Matrix.
No. Todd, we're talking about Thoth right now. Let's stay on topic.
Okay.
So who is Thoth?
Thoth
is all of these.
Thoth is the Anunnaki son of Enki.
Okay, so
the original serpent cult.
Okay, hold on.
The original serpent cult.
Okay. That is a wonderful trail that I'd love to go down. Not today, because we're going to stay on Thoth. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. What evidence do you have to convince me?
Well, like I said, Ezekiel 9, 2, and 3.
Pick something other than the Bible, right? Todd, pick something other than the Bible, or you're going to have to justify why we should be reading the Bible. Why should we read the Bible at all? I don't care.
Well, you can't just read it. It's a lot of hidden. There's a lot of brain science. I would suggest there's a female on YouTube. Her name is Kelly Marie Kerr, and she breaks it down very, very good. I mean, it's all about the brain. They have the I asked you there, stuff that you can't make up from 3,000 years ago.
Yes, you can.
You can make up quite a lot.
Yeah,
especially if it's old.
Exactly, and I think that's exactly what's happening. So yeah, you can, man. So do you understand that I asked you, what evidence do you have for your claim? And you pointed to the Bible. We said, well, the Bible's not really good enough unless you can justify the Bible. And your response was, well, the brain and brain science. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? And I'm not. Well, it's the topic itself. I don't think you're presenting this in a clear way that we can follow you on. So what is your evidence for this?
The problem that I have is beliefs versus truths. Okay,
Okay. So what is a belief and what is a truth?
Atheist belief.
How that has to do with Thoth?
Well, I'm trying to explain it to you the best way I can. If Thoth is described the so-called God of wisdom. Like I said, I don't recognize gods as being gods. I recognize them as programmed words that once you install how something thinks into your brain, then you take on the identity of how that thing thinks.
What?
And, you know, as
Okay.
if...
So are you basically saying that gods exist because we created them, because we have concepts of gods, and therefore as concepts they exist?
Because if that's the case, cool.
Well, actually, yes, in a sense, and
So,
and gods are not...
well, like Lord of the
gods
Rings.
are not to be
right?
taken as real, but they're to be taken as
So
the
did
way
Thoth really
that a certain
exist?
God thinks.
So
But yes, they were created to be able to give you a language to be able to see things that are invisible.
So a scribe was created.
It's a language.
Okay. So hold on a second, Todd. You lost us again.
Yeah.
So here's where we're at. We can't spend too much time on this call because we've got other calls, but I want you to understand why we're stuck here. We're stuck here because you made a statement that sounded to me like you were saying that fiction exists, right? And so the Lord of the Rings is,
Fiction
we've got
exists?
books, and I can point at the books and I can say it exists as a story, as a work of fiction, and in that way it exists. And that's how V brought it up. And you said yes, and then you started to make claims about the real world. Fiction doesn't do that. So let's focus in on Thoth. So was this or is this a human being?
Yes. Thoth was an actual human being, a being of some type. I don't know exactly if he was
human. I said human being, Todd.
Okay. But see, we have
hold on. No, I want to know if you agree or not. Is this author a human being? Did they exist in the real world? How do we know that? What is the evidence?
He is a being. He was a being, but I can't say human being because, you know, he may have been Anunnaki. He may have been before, the Homo, whatever classification. But he was working through
aliens. You believe in pseudo gods. You believe in. It sounds like you accept a whole lot of things that without good reason. Why?
No. If I had beliefs to me are nothing but questions, unanswered questions.
But you're not asking questions. You're making claims.
Track down the answer and replace the belief with truth. Because
that's not how that works.
I don't know.
Okay, let me give you language to help here. Your belief is that which you accept to be true. Okay? What you accept to be true is what you believe. Now, you can accept something to be true that's not true. You could believe something that is not true. So we need to look at the evidence and make sure that what we're accepting to be true is being accepted for good reasons.
Well, a belief is devoid of truth. It actually has the word lie. It actually has the word be lie in it. So if you have a belief, it cannot be true.
No. Todd.
Wow.
That is the etymological fallacy.
That's like the
that's broken thinking, Todd.
Yeah.
Look, if I said, how many fingers am I holding up? And you would have to tell me what you believe. But if you could see how many fingers I'm holding up, you wouldn't have to believe. You would know the truth.
Exactly opposite. Exactly wrong. Yeah. If you ask us without being able to see how many fingers am I holding up, I don't have to answer with a belief. I can say I don't know. I don't have enough evidence to make a determination about how many.
And that would be the proper answer. And that was exactly, and that's the proper answer.
So how did you get from I don't know
where you don't have the answer to force a belief when you don't have the answer is lunacy.
Okay, and I'm stating that what you are telling us is lunacy. Then, if that's where you want to go with that. Actually, I don't like the word lunacy. That throws a hole. I think that's broken. So the question is, can you justify? And every time we approach it, you go off in a different direction.
Yeah.
That doesn't help us believe you.
Right.
Right. You sent me this huge text about having truths that you want to share. I can't find a single thing you've said that is true so far in this conversation. All you've given me is this is how I believe this. And then when I ask why, all you have is another story to tack on to the end of it. This is non sequitur, non sequitur, non sequitur, non sequitur. You need to actually justify each of those things.
Know what non sequitur means.
A non sequitur is something
all I'm trying to tell you is...
I'll tell you what a non sequitur is. A non sequitur is a statement that does not logically follow from the prior ones. So if you're saying...
okay, well, following what you said, let me make this statement about what you say I believe. May I do that?
Sure. I'm interested to hear what I think that you believe. I just said that I think it sounds like nonsense until you justify it.
Okay. All right. So Thoth wrote all the religions, all the mythology. Some of the mythology has been added to by other people, but Thoth wrote the Quran, the Bible.
How do you know?
Buddha, Hinduism, because I'm a disciple. I'm a disciple, and I just know. I've spent my life researching this stuff.
I just know. No, I just know that you're wrong.
For 12 years now.
Todd, I just know that you're wrong.
I've spent 27 years not believing what you believe, so I guess I win.
Yeah, if you're going to say I just know as your response, cool. So if you just know that you're right and I just know that you're wrong, are we both just equal?
Well, if somebody comes up and starts doing an Elvis impersonation and they say, "Who am I?" you would know that's Elvis.
Responding to what I'm saying in a way. Stop with the story.
There's hidden code. There's hidden code in all this stuff that is the mark of Thoth. And it
go back and watch this.
Recognize the hidden code.
Todd,
sir,
go back and watch this because this is word salad. I would love for you to go back and watch how this played through. Pick a thing and go, okay, here's how I'm going to show Eric and V that this is true. You have this idea of this character, Thoth, right? Cool. What evidence is there? Well, what evidence do we require when we talk about other things? Well, we look at records, right? And so if we want to look at ancient Greece or ancient Rome or, other places that had written records, right? And obviously you're talking about scripts and writing, so it existed. Where else is it referenced? And how is it referenced?
Well, he's all over. He's all over the pyramids. He's also Hermes is the same being.
Okay,
Hermes, and
Todd,
yeah.
Todd, so you're saying, Todd, go back and watch this and look for evidence. Okay, look for good evidence. And I'm going to ask you because I want you to have good reasons for believing what you believe. I don't think you have good reasons. I don't think you have good reasons because I don't think you're really getting how to determine whether or not there's good evidence for it. You actually need to take those presuppositions and put them aside and go, what if I'm wrong? How can I determine if I'm wrong? And if I'm wrong, then maybe I can look for this and that. That's called falsifying your claim or falsifying the statement. And then you try and falsify it. You try and see how you could be wrong and then follow those along the way. It sounds like what you've done is built a house of cards because you have a conclusion that you're working towards. And that's not how that works.
No, that's exactly not what I'm doing. There's hidden code inside these texts that once you learn how to see the code, I've got the Bible code
stuff. I got the Bible code stuff. I don't think it's real. And you need to justify why you think that's real.
What about this? No.
I'm making an executive decision right now. I think that's the first time I've ever done that.
Yeah? How's it feel dropping a collar?
Too late in coming.
So here's the thing is instead of responding, he threw more bait. And I started to follow. And I followed and followed. And I'd ask for a question and he'd throw more bait instead of actually responding. It doesn't look good. It doesn't make any of us look good. And it definitely doesn't make me look good. So sorry about that. Let's talk to... Oh, Actually, hold on. I'm going to pop this person back on hold.
I don't think you actually hit one yet.
Oh, okay. Let's talk to Johan in Sweden.
Yay! Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
thank you for
How are
calling
you
in. What
doing?
would you like to talk about?
Yeah. Okay. So you have to accept that I'm a little nervous and I don't have all of the, science in my head to back up all of what I'm saying. But this is what I believe in and what I have been, what conclusions that I have reached.
Okay.
With all of this stuff, with religion and particularly the Christian denomination, and so basically, I am very sensitive when it comes to how people interpret and read the Bible. They read the Bible and they take a lot of it very literally. And I don't believe that the Bible was meant to be read that way. Now, that's my way of looking at it. I don't have any evidence that that's true. I don't have anything that backs up that claim. But it's the only thing that makes sense to me is that if you read the Bible and you read a verse and it basically says that go out on a full moon night and look up at the sky and you shall be enlightened, something like that, right?
Okay.
And people do this and then they go up and look at the sky and they don't feel enlightened,
Mhm.
right? And
The Mormons actually have a version of that.
Yeah.
The Mormons will go to your door and say, pray for it at night, pray to receive the truth, and God will reveal himself to you. And if people say, well, it didn't work, they say, well, then you didn't do it right.
Exactly.
You're good so far. So how does that have to do with proving God to yourself? It looks like in the notes that you were saying you wanted to talk about how you prove God.
Because of one perspective that I've had on spirituality and separating spirituality from psychology and my own personality, which is a kind of Buddhist way of looking at things, I guess.
Sure.
I don't know, but
so what is God to you? What is your definition of God?
To me, I want to know the truth, right? So I'm on a journey still. I don't think I've reached the final conclusion or anything yet. But what it seems to me to be is this continuous, companion that I. And when I say I mean the sense of yourself that you have that is continuous throughout your life, that doesn't ever leave you, that people often say, it's your inner voice, or follow your inner voice, or believe in yourself, because.
So do you? I'm trying to follow this through in a way that can be clear and concise. Let me try and repeat this back to you.
Yeah,
it sounds like what you're saying is that your inner monologue or your identity, the way that you understand yourself, is tied into your definition of a God.
No, not a God. I don't want to call it. I don't want to call it God. I don't want to call it he or she. God to me is more of an it. It's more of a force. It's more of the evolutionary force that is, to my mind, not blind, but an intelligent kind of permeating force.
I've got some questions for you, Johan, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure, go.
Yeah, because a lot of what you're saying sounds very similar to where I was maybe 3 years ago. I left a religious background and I realized this isn't right. I'm not sure why yet. I don't have all of the answers. I don't, but I know I don't believe this. I know that this doesn't feel right. So let me go look for God elsewhere. And the assumption was always that God existed in some form. Maybe I just had the wrong version. Maybe I just had the wrong idea, and I needed to be open to different interpretations or different religions. I did dabble in the whole Buddhist thing for a while. I dabbled in Wicca for a while. Then I became a pantheist, right? And the idea that, oh, well, the universe is God, and what we feel when we talk about God and that concept comes from our connection to the universe. And then I started doing more research and thinking exactly the kinds of things you brought up. Well, it's an intelligent force. Okay, well, what is intelligence? Where does intelligence come from? What kind of structures, physical structures, are needed to house intelligence? And slowly I started realizing, oh, wait, when we talk about intelligence, we have this ethereal, like ephemeral sense of, oh, well, it's this sense of myself. It's my inner voice. But in reality, in the concrete, when we're looking at this from a naturalistic scientific perspective, intelligence and sense of self come from the physical properties in our brains. And so once I realized that, I was kind of at a loss to explain how a universe could be conscious or intelligent or have intention. And that kind of led me into atheism.
Right. Yes. Okay. So that is where I kind of went, oh, now I'm going in from one world to the next. Like I'm going from the world of the mind, which I also identify is a realm of divinity, if you will. It can be a realm of hell if you're suffering mentally, which I've also been.
Johan, that sounds very flowery. Sure. I think you're starting to use words in ways that you're just changing the definitions to fit your changing views.
And it's a common literary tactic, but it doesn't really help when we're trying to make ontological claims.
I'm trying to. Sorry, I am nervous. But
okay. All right.
When you said that you were going to, you were investigating the intelligence claim that like it's a force, you know, and then you kind of realize that well, we have intelligence and that can be measured in psychological terms and so forth. Take for example, what I want you to kind of understand is take a psychedelic trip, for instance, that you can measure. And a lot of people.
Question, Johan. I'm trying to follow the response here, because the statement was,
are you
that your brain is where your thoughts live, where your
don't
feelings
start. If you start, like it's impossible to have a conversation, and if I'm interrupted all the time to try to clarify claims, I'm sure you understand. I'm sure you understand where I'm trying to go. And if I can reach my conclusion, I think you'll understand, even if I'm not talking in perfect terms or defining everything perfectly. I don't know. Have you ever had a conversation over like a cup of coffee with anybody? Just
absolutely
talking.
Yes. And the format of this show is one where there's a back and forth.
Right.
The lowest and slowest points are when we're being talked at versus when we're engaging with each other. And so the reason I hopped in is not because I'm trying to be a jerk, but because I'm going, okay, we're now at a point where the conversation has moved to, you need to have a brain to have intelligence. And so when you started talking about a force, I thought, okay, cool. Johan is going to tell us how he thinks a force, something without a brain, can have intelligence. And so when you were responding, I was looking for that. And because I wasn't exactly finding that, I was wondering, are we still on the same topic or have we moved elsewhere?
Oh, okay. So you were confused by where I was going. I see. All right. No, I don't have any proof that there's intelligence without a brain. But when I look at all the things that science actually says about the world, the evolutionary claims and so forth, the origin of species, for instance, it sounds like nature is creative in a way that I can't deny, and whether that's God or whether that's just a force that helps evolution further complexity, for instance, or novelty, that the universe has some kind of need for evolving. I don't know.
What if we don't?
It seems to me that an intelligent force can actually exist without a brain, but not without a physical medium.
So hold on just a second. No, it doesn't. When you're making claims about evolution is a rough, nasty, terrible process. It takes way too long, and there are screw-ups way more often than there are any productive changes made. And that being said, I think that's evidence against that claim. That said, keep looking into it, because I think a good, well, here's the thing. I think a really good question to ask yourself is it necessary, right? So pull out Occam's razor.
Yeah.
And go,
exactly.
okay. Is it likely that, through naturalistic processes, the world, fleshed itself out the way it is? Or do you need extra structures on top of that to make it happen? If you need those extra structures, then what are they and what are those evidences? Because you're saying there's a need for guidance in evolution. And
okay. So you're pointing to the human fallacy, where human perception kind of projects a identity onto things.
Yeah, it's anthropomorphizing the universe. I was going to say exactly that. Right on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you think that
that's kind of where I grind to a stop with my reasoning sometimes. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, knowing that is a good thing. Right? We realize, oh, wait, here's a hole. Here's a hole in my logic. Here's something that I come up against a lot. That's what you look at. You have a goalpost. You know what to research next.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's such a huge discussion, though, that I don't think it fits. I couldn't. I probably sound like a babbling idiot.
No, you've expressed yourself very well. I think this might also be something you want to join, maybe the Facebook group or the Discord, and talk more about this with other people as well.
Absolutely. Also, the Reddit. If you go to reddit.com/r/Talk Heathen, that's a format where you can take it and write it all out, and then have it, and then you can edit it and look it over and go, okay, this is what I'm thinking, and then post it, and then other people can read it and take their time with it and really give you thought out responses. Yeah. I think that'd be a lot more useful at this point.
Right.
Yeah, but thank you for calling in.
That sounds great. Yeah, and thanks for taking my call. I've been calling in for a few weeks, and I've been wanting to talk to both of you. You are extremely intelligent to me. I absolutely appreciate what you do, because what you do is so important in the times that we are living in right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you calling in, and
definitely. And also,
definitely reach out to the different networks. We've got a lot of people who would be interested to talk with you about this.
Yep. And there are people who are already in the live chat who are talking about it. And when you started out saying, well, my English, dude, your grasp of all of this language is amazing. And cheers. Kudos, man. Anyway, take it easy. Have a good one.
Thank you. Yeah, you too.
All right. Yeah. Let's talk to Tony in Oklahoma.
Sounds good. Hi, Tony.
Hello.
Hey. What would you like to talk about? Hello.
Well, hello. I'm responding to, I'm not going to get real political, really, I'm not. I'm a secular Christian, and I'm a little bit of a peacemaker.
which is good and bad. I'm just one of those people that want everyone to get along. I'm a preacher's kid. Okay, I'm a PK.
Sure.
Me too.
So I can relate to you guys.
Yeah.
I was not a PK.
Yeah, it's
But you were.
you can go one of two directions. You become Tony or you become me. Tony, what can we help you with today?
Well, I just, you've heard these statements before, but this is a false statement that Attorney General William Barr made. And of course, he said, this is a false statement for any of the Christians out there listening, that atheists can't be moral. You've heard that one before, right?
That's a good old one. That's a
classic.
That's a good old one, yeah. And then the next statement, okay, that's the false statement. Now, a true statement, and I don't like the way he said this. It's kind of, Okay, here's the statement, and you can help me with it. Mm-hmm. He said, atheists are trying to drive religion out of public life. Let's rewrite that sentence. Let's rewrite that, because that's a bait statement, in my opinion. You know, it's, they want to get rid of religion, period. No. That's me. I'm just going to speaking for me. I can't speak for you or because I'm a secular Christian. I can't speak for the atheist community.
No worries, Tony. I just want to help steer you into a place where we can engage with you.
Yeah.
Go for it.
No. So as you're going, where would you like to engage with us? What do you want to talk to us about?
Okay. In the statement, atheists are trying to drive religion out of public life. I'm saying, as a secular Christian, that, okay, if you want to define public life, I think that's an easy one, okay? Your work, is that public?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, firstly, keep religion out of my workplace, okay?
Cheers.
Don't pray for me. I'm going to pray for you at work. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Okay. Well, we're on the same page so far.
I'm saying, you know what? As a Christian, I'm in the middle here somewhere. Sometimes I'm an atheist, sometimes I'm a Christian, sometimes I'm nothing. Okay. Yeah. What I want to say is, you know what? Christians, Muslims, everybody has a holiday to celebrate their faith. That's great. I'm saying, you know, we don't want to take that away. You have private gatherings. You know, you have church gatherings. You have Sunday. You have conferences. You have all these places. There's millions of places that Christians, religious people, I'm not just saying just Christians, there's a lot of religions out there. Muslims, they all have...
Tony, I think I know where you're at now, and I think I want to jump in and kind of help bookend this.
Yeah.
And that is that you're talking about secularism, right? And secular was a bad word in my church.
Oh, same. Secular music was terrible.
Right. So secular simply means not religious. Most of the things we do are secular. You can't drive your car in a way that was outlined in the Bible. That's a secular thing that you're doing. Brushing your teeth. Right. It is also secular. Everything that is not directly religious is secular. And so by creating a secular world to live in, what we're doing is creating a place without bias so that people can exist together in it. And so we're not saying, you know, well, you're Christian, you need to go away. You can't engage in this public sphere. No, what it's saying is we don't want somebody to capitalize on those places and make it inaccessible to the rest of us. And so we take a look at countries in the Middle East that are very, very much ruled by the religion, and the religion is the government. Those things are very synonymous. And if that's the case, what are the odds that somebody who doesn't believe those things, what are the odds that they're going to get a fair shake? It's not.
Right.
We're not even Muslim. We're not even Christian, but we're saying that when you do that, when you make your government religious, you're biasing it against everyone else, and we can't.
That's right.
Be a community around that. And I'm glad, even as a Christian, I'm glad that you see that, because that means that we can join together and do something about it.
And here's the thing. You asked, the notes say you want to come find a middle ground. And that's the middle ground. Secularism is the middle ground. We don't want to eliminate religion. We want to make sure that everybody gets a fair say and a fair shot and equal time and all of that good stuff. And honestly, Tony, like if Christians were like you across the board, I'd be out of a gig. Like I wouldn't be here doing this. I respect you. I think that you are pursuing your religion in as reasonable and as responsible a way as possible. So good for you.
You know what it makes me think of?
Okay.
It makes me think of, there are those people who go into a room and all they can think of is themselves. How is everybody viewing me? And then there are those people who can go into a room and realize how they're being seen.
Mm-hmm.
And well, where am I in this group? Who am I, and what role am I playing? And I think that that viewpoint, especially espoused by people on different sides. Tony, I'm glad that you called in.
Yeah.
The idea that you can recognize yourself in that group and that you have an impact. That's where you can actually start to affect positive change for everyone, and I'm grateful for it. Now we can talk about what you believe too, because I want you to have good reasons. But as far as just engaging in a public sphere and being allies in the separation of religion and government, I would be proud to stand side by side with you.
Yeah, and I will engage with the other platforms that you mentioned, and I'm glad you brought them up because I think people sometimes forget about them. And that way, kudos for saying that, and I will definitely use them. Thank you so much for taking my call. I appreciate
Sounds
it.
Good. Thank
Absolutely.
you, Tony.
We appreciate you, Tony. Take it easy. Aw.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We're just shooting through calls today.
We are, but we've got a lot on the line, which is awesome. I'm excited.
And some really, really good ones too. So Jacob in California, you're live with Eric and V. What would you like to talk about?
Cool. Well, thanks for taking the call. I got something that it might be a shorter way through this first topic than anything, because you guys might actually end up agreeing with me based on what the call screener was saying. However, I'll just ask the question first. Do you guys hold to the view that the Bible forced a rape victim to marry her rapist?
From what I've read, yes, but at the same time, I think that's a nitpick that I'm not necessarily because there are a lot of things that are immoral in the Bible. I think that's an example. But
yeah, I'd be glad to go over any of those too, by the way. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah.
No, that's okay. But it's also a nitpick that I feel doesn't really get us to where we're going. So example, right? Okay. I think times when people say, "Oh, well, the Bible is 100% true. You need to read it literally, and it is the source of morality." Right. That's when you start pointing to the immoral things in the Bible and rape victims marrying their rapists. I believe what it actually says isn't about the victim itself. It's to the rapist, and it's saying if you do this, then you need to, either pay her father or. There's recompense to be made because women were considered property at that time. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I'm
okay. Well, not always. No, that's okay. I will respectfully disagree, and I will go to the Bible just to prove it, if that's okay.
Go for it.
So Deuteronomy 22 verse 25 says, "But if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her and lie with her, then the man only that lie with her shall die. But unto the damsel thou shalt do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death. For as when a man riseth against his neighbor and slayeth him, even so is this matter." So that's clearly an example of sexual assault, rape, and he was put to death. So then we go down to verse 28, and there is one verse in between. I don't skip it for any reason other than it's not super relevant.
It is relevant. It's relevant because the only reason you don't kill her is because it happened in the country and you can't tell if she screamed. If you can tell that she didn't scream when she got raped, then she has to die too, because she clearly enjoyed it. That's the difference there.
Yeah, but that's not, so that is reading into the text, though. You're saying that if she didn't scream when she was raped, it means she enjoyed it. But the idea behind that is not that if she didn't scream when she was raped, she enjoyed it. The idea that if she didn't scream, it was consensual. I'm just saying, I'm aware that there is maybe some logical hesitancy there, but you are reading into the text a little when you say that.
Wait, you're saying that it's okay?
So if a man,
All right, move on.
Go ahead.
Move on. Just wanted to clarify.
No, that's okay. I acknowledge what you're saying. I just say that either way, my way or your way, is reading into the text a little bit. All it says is if she screams or she's in the field, then she could have screamed and no one could have heard her. So we can make what we make of that. It's just, right? So anyway, verse 28, if a man finds a damsel that is a virgin who is not betrothed and lay hold on her and lie with her, and they be found, that's the key right there, then the man that lie with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he hath humbled her. He may not put her away all his days. So,
Got it. So
verse 25, the rapist is clearly put to death. Verse 28, I don't think that's rape.
So
because
you're
how could it
saying
be otherwise
the
put to
Bible
death?
only sometimes says that rape victims must marry their abusers.
depending on if
No, I'm saying
somebody
never.
already has a claim on the victim.
Wait, how do you figure that?
Not
How do you figure that?
betrothed. She's not somebody else's property, so
Not
he can
betrothed.
have her.
I got it.
If she is someone else's
Well,
property
betrothed is engaged.
and she
Betrothed
quote
is
unquote
engaged.
consented to being raped, then she dies because she offended the man who owns her.
Yeah, but because she
No,
can't
why
be
do you
home.
keep going to the owned thing though?
Because
Betrothed
that's
is
what
engaged.
the entire culture, that's the understanding of the culture at the time. You can't read the Bible
It's
without
engaged.
understanding the culture that it comes from.
I mean,
I know. I
mean,
just respectfully, there's guys like Dr. Michael Brown that have a different opinion of you, and no disrespect. I'm not saying this is an argument from authority, so I'm not saying it's totally valid. However, he does have his PhD in Assyriology, and he seems to have a different opinion of the culture than you. So, I mean, what do we do with that when one expert is saying that the culture doesn't say that and you're saying it does, right? So I'm not trying to make an argument from authority. I just think it's relevant.
No worries. I have debated PhDs. I have learned that they're not as
right. You guys are
powerful
both
as I
very
thought.
smart, so that wasn't a dig or
yeah,
anything. So
that's okay. That said, the entire point of this is talking about, in the context of this, is talking about morality in the Bible. I think both ways it's immoral. And if that's the case, then we're splitting hairs at that point.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it just goes back to, which is a conversation that's been had on shows like this. I can't say that I've seen it on this show exactly, but you know, where does your morality? How do you justify what is moral and what isn't? We can have that conversation if you want. It's just my point was that if you read the text and you do a lexicographical, look at the Hebrew there, those are two different words, lay hold of and seize. And clearly the first one, verse 25, he's put to death. The second one, he's told that he can marry her, but he can't divorce her because he humbled her, meaning that she was a virgin before and she's not a virgin now. So, I mean, I just don't see that.
Well, it's
good grounds to say that.
Well, I think in both ways, it's still immoral.
No, it is still the same. It's the same thing. I don't care about the Greek, the Hebrew word for seize or take hold of. If a guy or anybody has sex with somebody who doesn't want it, then that is rape. And if you force the person, whether that's through...
Respectfully, that's where you're wrong. That's where you're wrong. It doesn't say rape in the verse 28. So that's where you're reading into the text just to suit, what it is.
Okay, cool. So then we'll specify and we'll only point out 26. That's fine.
Okay. So what is your contention there? Because, I mean, I'm still not seeing it. The rapist is put to death. I mean, that's the point. So
now we're going with, if no one heard her scream, then she dies too. That's better.
I don't think it's
I'm saying I can see from our modern point of view how that would be like logically problematic, because we're like, that's the best evidence you would have had that it wasn't rape, right? I get that. However, it seems that it was. It seems that at the time it was the best evidence that she wasn't raped, and that's what they went off of. And I'm not even saying that I don't see that.
I disagree heartily with that, because I have been reading this book a second time because it's amazing, called When God Was a Woman by Merlin Stone. And turns out that previous societies had laws that very clearly delineated the woman is never going to be punished for being raped. They had an idea. They came before the Hebrews. The Hebrews then reverted and did something that was barbaric in comparison with all of the cultures surrounding them. So it's not that this was the best evidence they had. This was actively regressive.
I hear what you're saying. It's just based on that verse alone. If she didn't scream and she's in the city, then it's clear that it was consensual. Like, that's what it's saying. So you're getting your information from this other scholar and everything like that. I cited a scholar too, so that's fair, right? That's how arguments work. It's just based on the text alone. If we're just two people just reading the text, you can't get that from the text. You just can't.
I can.
Yeah,
you can.
we can disagree there. The important thing
so.
is, the important thing is that we viewed it, and so I'm assuming, you're an atheist.
I'm an atheist? No, I'm a Christian.
You're a Christian. Oh, it has you as an atheist in the thing. Sorry about that.
Wow,
so-
I had
No worries.
some modicum of respect, and now I'm just done.
Why?
I'm done with this call.
Okay.
I'm done with the call.
Okay.
Really?
You can continue if
Sure.
you would like, but I'm
Yeah.
sitting this out for the rest of this call.
Okay. Jacob.
Yes, sir.
So the reason this gets brought up is because the statement, the Bible is a source of morality. That's when this conversation comes up. So do
Yes,
you have
yeah.
the claim that the Bible is a source of morality?
The Bible is simply the transcribed word of God, but I mean, God is the source of morality. So,
Okay, so do you believe that the Bible is the source of morality?
I mean, for the sake of the argument, yes.
Okay, so if I were to find things that were immoral in the Bible,
hmm
would you revise the view that the Bible is the source of morality?
Yeah, I mean, I know this is where I might get laughed off the show or whatever, and that's okay. But no, I would just simply say that you have a bad theological understanding of what's going on, and I could prove it using other texts in the Bible. I could show you that might be a circular argument, but I could also show you archaeologically and historically and everything like that where the Bible holds up too. So I mean,
I'm glad that you're recognizing that it's circular, because the thing is, at that point you're talking about exegesis and hermeneutics, and we should probably have that conversation in another call. But I think that when it comes to translating things backwards and forwards, we can make them into whatever we want them to be. And when that happens,
I would need an example to agree to that, but
sure. Let's do that on the next call.
okay. Yeah, that's
All right.
fair.
Sounds good. Take it easy, man.
Yep. Have a good one.
So a Christian caller calls in and wants to talk about and use apologetics for the rape claims in the Bible.
That is not the approach that was taken today. And I'm done talking about Jacob.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Let's move on. Let's talk to... we haven't talked to Min in a while. Min, you're live with Eric and V. What would you like to talk about?
Hello, guys. How you doing?
Doing okay. What do you want to talk about?
So today I would love to ask you, Eric, what you always say that you would love to provide people the best tool to access the truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I would say that I agree, that the tools should be the best tool, but just because people have the best tool does not mean they are the right tool for the person if they cannot wield the tool, So it depends on the end goal that they pursue.
Well, I agree to an extent, for sure. I think you can be presented the correct toolbox, but you don't necessarily automatically know how to use it, right? You have to learn how to use the tools in order for the tools to be useful to you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, yeah. So then, if we talk about cosmology or how the human become that we are today, using the Holy Book is really a terrible mistake because that's the wrong tool. It's just a terrible tool, right? But if we talk about other things, like the thing like a bit like metaphysical or spiritual stuff, then I think that if the person wield the tool correctly, then it may not be the best tool, but it's still the right tool for them to deal with, those things.
It
What do
depends.
you guys think?
It depends. Do you care about what's true?
Yes.
Okay, so caring about what's true, now we're looking at pragmatically, is it useful? So you're looking at these holy texts, and from what I'm getting out of this, it sounds like you're saying, hey, these holy texts have different pragmatic uses in the same way that we have, different fables and fairy tales that have a moral at the end of the story that you can use to teach.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
That being the case, I don't believe that Cinderella ever lived. Right. So,
yes.
Although that's a good example, there are Cinderella stories that are surprisingly similar across various continents before there was actually consistent trade between them. So,
that said, the story that I know that is portrayed, this Cinderella story, is not, Cinderella did not actually exist. So if we're just going to zoom out and go, hey, it doesn't matter if it's true, it's useful, that's fine so long as we make sure that it's in the same category as the other fairy tales and people recognize, hey, we're not making true claims about the world. We're maybe using this as an example of a way to behave. And, in the same way that you pull out the Lorax when you want to talk to people about, or talk to a child about treating the environment, how you treat the environment. As long as that's the case, then I don't think we're going to disagree. But the problem is, my worry is that when you point to these holy books, a lot of people, they'll take that literally. There's this idea, okay, there's use in the Bible, therefore it's true. And that's where we get problems. And so what I challenge you to is give me one story in the Bible that's good for that. Give me one example of a good use of a moral story in the Bible. One.
Okay, I can try. If I remember correctly, it's in Mark chapter 9. I think it was 9 to 12. I may be off on that. So Jesus tells the story that when he saw a widow who came to a Jewish temple to give the money to the temple, and there were rich men who did the same. And Jesus said to his disciple that this woman gave more than those men did because she gave out of her living, while the other men, they give out of their excess. So the moral of the story I learned from my perspective, not a Christian, that it say that how much you give is not important as the intention that you put in what you give to people. So that's the moral I learned from when I read that story.
That is an interesting interpretation.
That is. See, where I go with it is the same place that a lot of prosperity gospel preachers go. And that is that, you need to give your social security check. Don't pay your rent. You're planting a seed. I've seen that particular verse being used to justify taking money from the people who cannot afford to give and saying, no, the Bible's telling you to do it. The way you presented it and what you got out of it sounds great. I just, in my experience, I've got a really bitter taste in my mouth from that because of what prosperity gospel has done.
Right. But I think your point, Min, is that she didn't actually give more. So if we're being logical about it, well, clearly, she didn't actually give more. It's not a wrong story because that fact is wrong. We're using more in a different way, in a metaphorical way, to make a larger point. And understanding that and applying the tool of understanding storytelling and metaphor will get us closer to the actual intended meaning of that story than saying, well, technically two pennies is less than $100. Am I putting words in your mouth? Is that kind of where you're coming from here?
I think interpretation here is the thing, and I don't think my interpretation is more right than any other person, but because to my filter, how I see it, it's different, from people take the story as fact. So that's why I say, it depends on how you're able to wield the tool in in the toolbox.
Right.
And if you don't mind, I would love to give you the example here. Sorry, please go ahead.
No, I think that we're on the same page there. I agree with you. I think that that's one of the problems I have with people who do take the Bible 100% literally, regardless of whether that's an atheist taking things literally or a Christian taking them literally. It's not all literal, right? We have poems in there. We have stories and myths. And sure, some of it is presented as objectively true, but not all of it. And so I think that's a good clarification. Now, the question becomes, what is our end goal? And what should our end goal be? Is the end goal to determine what is actually true in reality? Or is our end goal to, come away with a interpretation of a moral story, right? So I think at this point, we then come to, well, what are we using the Bible for? And if you agree with me that, yeah, the Bible has some myths that you can interpret in helpful ways sometimes, then cool. You can use the tools that you need to get you to that point. That's fine. But if you're going to say, I'm using the tools that I use to interpret mythology to determine what is objectively true, that's where we come away and start separating in our viewpoint. Does that make sense?
Yes, and that's why I see this, like the example I think about, like making coffee. Let's say that, you and I both know that the taste of coffee that Eric likes, with the correct amount of maple syrup and whipped cream and butter. I'm just making this up. So let's say one day Eric want you and I to make
delicious coffee.
It does sound like delicious coffee.
Go ahead.
Yes, and and so Eric provide me the best coffee maker. The best type of, grade A coffee beans and vanilla and all those things, all organic ingredients. However, I don't have the skill to, to mix the ingredient the right way that it tastes good to Eric. In contrast, you will provide not a bit like lesser quality, less quality ingredients. And the coffee machine you have is a bit rusty, because you have skill in making those things in harmony, in balance. So
I'm seeing this comparison. I understand that. Right.
Yeah. So that's why. Yeah.
I think debating the pragmatic uses of a thing, while it's an interesting conversation.
Well, no, it directly ties into the talking about the toolbox, because I think I see where you're going now, and it's an interesting conversation. I'm actually intrigued by this. So we talk about having the best tools, and Min is saying, well, you can have the best tools and not come up with as good a conclusion because you don't know how to use them as maybe not the best tools, but if you know how to use them correctly and you make it do with what you've got, it might actually come out better.
Yeah, you understand me.
Right. Okay. So I'm on the right track then. That's good. I don't know if I agree with it. But I like where your head's at.
See, here's my worry is then you could be correct for the wrong reasons. I've had people who say, I'm an atheist now because I'm so angry at God. It's like, well, hold on. Do you believe? Yeah, God's just such a jerk. And it's like, wait, you still believe? Like, I want people to have good reasons for things. I've definitely had people email a lot, and sometimes it's just really bad reasons. And so I would rather you take the time and learn how to use the tools so that you can reliably make that best cup of coffee instead of hoping that you might accidentally do it with unreliable tools.
Right. And I think here, again, we come back to what is the goal, right? And for you, the goal might be make a subjectively good cup of coffee that Eric will like. And you can probably do that with the tools that you've got. You can tailor your worldview to be something that you like. But for me, on my end, I'm worried about making objectively the best cup of coffee I can. And I cannot do that with subpar tools. So I think it's just an end goal issue here that we're struggling with.
But that's an interesting conversation. We do have a couple other callers that we want to get to, but Min, thank you for calling in.
Yeah, that was a good analogy. I liked it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. See you later.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. Let's move on. I love these new numbering systems.
I know. Our call screeners have been working really hard to figure out exactly how to convey to us the quality of the calls that are coming in. And, oh, you should take this one next because I think this is going to be really interesting. And so we have a number system now, and it's really helpful in helping us choose the best calls as soon as possible.
Absolutely. It is. Crew, you're amazing. Thank you.
We love you.
All right, let's move on and talk to Chris in California. Chris, you're live with Eric and V. What would you like to talk about today?
Hey, wow. Thanks, V. I think that's due to you. It's great. I'm glad you picked me. I'm delighted. Hey, hi, guys. How are you?
Hello. Doing all right.
Yeah.
Hey,
So,
cool.
go ahead.
Yeah.
So it says you want to talk about definitions.
Just to start, get it out of the way. Sorry if I step on toes, but Mr. Dillahunty says you're a theist or atheist. Well, I'm neither. I'm agnostic. If we can just go with that and run with it, then we're cool.
We can certainly have an entire conversation about that, but if that's not what you want to talk about, then okay, we'll move on.
Just so long as we understand each other enough to have a civil conversation.
Right.
So what do we want to define?
In general, I'd like you guys to kind of take the lead, so because I can be outspoken, and I've been trying to zip my lip a little more because it works better, especially with you guys. I'm just jazzed you took my call. I generally
no worries.
Has the call screener. Yeah.
So it says that you want to talk about faith and hope, and we can absolutely take the lead on that.
Yeah.
So we're in the realm of things that you accept to be true. We're talking about beliefs. Right. And a belief is a thing that you accept to be true.
Yep.
And so when you are talking about your justifications for what you accept to be true, there are all of these different, pieces that we add in. And, why are you accepting this? And so faith is one of those pieces. And I don't think faith is useful because faith, to my knowledge, is accepting something to be true. Right? Believing it without evidence. Now, you want to talk, you also talk about hope. Hope is not believing the thing.
Eric, excuse me, if we could, right there, and break. I'm totally with you on the faith thing. I said that as a buzzword to get me in. But anyway, that's where folks.
Wow.
Wow, at least you're honest now.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Yeah, hope is actually where the focus comes in. So go ahead on hope, please. I appreciate going through it.
Sure. Hope is not you're not actually believing a thing. It's what you want to happen, right? It's your preferred result.
Right. If you say heads, this happens, tails, this happens, and you toss the coin, before it lands, you have a hope of which one it's going to be, right? You hope that it's heads or you hope that it's tails, but that doesn't mean you believe that it's going to be, and you can't know that until it lands and you look at it, right?
Versus faith would be a statement about the conclusion. I'm going to flip this coin and it will be heads every time.
Right.
Because you're making a statement.
Faith, if I will, faith, schmeef, however you say it. We click right on with the hope thing, and we have in the past, and I think you think like I do, and so we're cool with that. But it gets down to a specific thing, and the belief and all that stuff edges its way in all throughout my spirituality, as you may, or whatever. We can talk about what spiritual is and all that crap, but that's, to me, not necessary either.
Okay, so are we talking about how you're using hope in this spirituality that you've got, or when talking about supernatural or spiritual things?
No. The hope would be, to try to get it down in one sentence, would be through whatever means envisioned awakening of mankind, the new world. It gets into, I don't know, people that are secular, humanist, I guess, a little bit, people that help for the well-being of others. But I've envisioned, call it whatever. It's not, I'm not a magic guy that's prophesized this stuff and I know all the answers, but
Chris,
it's that thing. It's like second coming of Christ or whatever. I've envisioned that, and I through my feelings, I've had real thoughts. Oh wow, this is going to happen. It's probably my best dream or so on. But as far as lately, and kind of thanks to listening to you guys a little more, I've become a little more of a skeptic, which I already am anyway. And
Chris,
but anyway, yeah, go ahead.
No, you're rambling. That's okay. I understand you want to make a statement, and what you're doing is, and it's something that I did for a long time. You can watch early episodes of Talk Heathen. I still do it. Is I'll start making a statement and realize, oh well, I need to hedge it a bit, so I want to make sure that I get my caveats out of the way. And then by the time you get to the end, it's been half an hour. So. Let's.
I got you. I definitely got you. No problem.
So I'm going to assume that you're an honest interlocutor, and if we need clarification, then we can ask for it. What is the thing that you wanted to engage with us on? What was the meat of the topic?
In my life, I've had my own spiritual awakenings, such as they are, and whether. And in those, I've had an envisioning of a beautiful new world, and something it's not something that whether it's related to drugs, this, that, and the other, or metaphysical stuff, who knows? But
so, did you call to tell us that?
No, I'm sharing my experience in that I had great hopes for the dream in the beginning, and now I've little bits of doubt come about. So maybe people go through the same experience. I mean, God is my favorite subject, even though I don't totally believe in her.
Chris.
Anyway, yes.
Chris.
Yes. Oh, the point. Yes. Yeah. I have doubts of my own hope. That's what I have. That's what I'm sharing. And it seems like a wonderful thing's going to happen. That's not much more than that, really. And so I figured that there's an audience that maybe it'll help them hear a little bit of what they are thinking.
Yeah.
In there.
I think
I'm not involved in the big Christian argument much. You guys are 99% about Christians or not unchristian.
Well, no, I think it's useful to talk about a whole host of different beliefs and hopes for the future, and I think it makes sense. So what I'm understanding you to say is, for a while you were holding on to this hope, maybe without the right amount of skepticism about what the future was going to look like. And it was a beautiful future, and it gave you a lot of hope, and maybe it was something that you really believed would happen. And then maybe based on talking with people like us and watching the show and all of that, you're starting to question whether or not you have as much justification for that hope as maybe you did before. Is that correct?
A little bit, yeah. I'm not necessarily, my responsibility for the holding on part doesn't seem to apply to me in my own mind.
Let's define it.
As far as diminishing hope, definitely.
Well,
a little bit, but
that is definitely that's the theme of 2020.
Diminishing hope is kind of what we're all feeling a little bit about now. I totally get that.
It's hard not to. Amazing things have been happening in my life that are positive. So that's an aside that we don't even need to get into. I could have a 1 hour offshoot on that, Eric. I know you're trying to get moving here. So, go ahead.
I appreciate it. You seem like the kind of guy that I would talk to for hours. It's just that the structure of the show, we want to keep the pacing and keep
we've got a couple more calls, and we still need to thank the patrons.
We do. So that said, Chris, thank you for calling in.
I'd like to inject a little bit of my own perspective to try to help out a little bit too here and there, if it does. But if not, it's nice to pick my calls.
Appreciated. What I want to leave you with is this. Hope is your preferred result. That does not mean that you're making an ontological statement about the world. You're not actually saying the world is this or that it's going to do this and that you just know it. It's what you want to be true. And it's okay to have hope. Just don't think that hoping is going to make those changes. That's all.
And then you're free to hope as much as you want.
Yep. Take care, man. All right.
Let's thank patrons before we get too far.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I'm refreshing the Patreon because we are going to thank the top 5 patrons right now. Our top 5 patrons today are Desert Heathen, Bethany P, Jay Friedman, Ward Knipling, and Charlotte Crum.
We've got
Thank
some
you
pretty
so
consistent
much.
stars up on here.
We do. Thank you so much for your support, and everyone who's supporting. We sincerely appreciate it. If you want to, and if you like what we do and you want to support us, consider going to patreon.com/talkheathen to me. Every little bit helps.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's move on and talk to, who do you want to talk to?
I'm fascinated by, I think it's Kildigs.
Okay, Kildigs in Virginia. You're live with Eric and Vi. What would you like to talk about?
Oh, wow. Eric, V, it's really great to hear from you guys. Let me get in a quieter room real quick. Yeah, hi. So, longtime fan of both Talk Heathen and the Atheist Experience, and been recently getting into some of the other shows too, like Secular Sexuality, and I think they're all really cool.
Nice.
So let me hop right into it because I know you guys don't have a lot of time, and I'm really nervous. So I have a lot of anxiety in general, and one of the things that I like studying is religion. I'm an agnostic atheist, and so I've been exposed to a lot of different types of religion. Well, I was pretty set in my non-belief for the longest time, and I started thinking, what could I come up with as a good question to get on the show? And I didn't want to get on the show if I can't come up with.
Sure. So what's your question?
I think. But today, I wanted to start with something that Matt actually said on the Atheist Experience, and I don't want to speak for him, so I'll ask you.
Hello?
Oh, you cut out there for a minute.
If there was a... I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're better here.
Go ahead. You
Okay,
want to?
right
You
here,
want?
my connection's here. Good. Okay.
No worries. You want our take on a
Okay.
statement. So what's the statement?
Yes. Okay, so I want y'all's opinion on this because I'm talking to you too. If God came out today and revealed himself in whatever way would be necessary for you to believe in them without a doubt, then would you would you praise them? Would you or feel obligated to praise them?
Well, so there are a couple of pieces there. And the first is I'm never going to get to a point where I'm not going to doubt. The way that I look at the world is in degrees of confidence, and that's just a range. And I don't think that anything deserves to be at 100 when it comes to, complex ideas. And so I can say I'm 99.9 bar, but I'm never going to accept something entirely like that just because that's just how that is. We can talk about definitionally true things, and that's fine, but I'm hedging at that point.
If in this hypothetical we were sufficiently convinced,
then we'd be convinced.
Right, but would you praise that God?
Well, I would have to, if I'm going to be consistent, I've told people, hey, if somebody shows up at the ACA, puts a gun to my head and asks me, am I Muslim? I would rather live than die on my principles at that moment, because I think that my life is more useful if I just look at that person and say, Allahu Akbar, and because what does that cost me?
See, I disagree, and I think that I can disprove that statement.
Why?
Because you're doing it right now. If we wanted to live the life that would make it best for us right now, we wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't praise this God because I am not... I haven't bought into the dictatorships that are right now. Yeah, I wouldn't, because I have not yet. And I'm not saying this in like an idealist way. I'm saying I know myself and I know how I react to powerful, abusive figures. And it doesn't matter what we call them or what they are. I know that I resist that. And I'm doing that right now. We're doing that in America. We're doing that with Christianity. We are doing that in so many ways. I don't see a reason to think that just because we were sufficiently convinced that a God existed, suddenly that would change.
Well, so I don't think that I would love or care about that God in a meaningful way. I don't think that I would think that that God is good in any way. But if they were to say, bend the knee or die, here lies V.
Yeah, that's
they did
what I'm
not bend the
getting
knee.
at.
Essentially, yeah, that's how that would work.
Cool.
Right.
I've got other things that I'm happy to die for, but if it comes to me in a moment, that just reminds me of times when somebody's wanted to fight me. If somebody says, let's step outside and punch, I want to punch you in the face. What do I have to gain by not, I'll look at them and go,
Well,
okay, cool. You're a big, strong person. That's fantastic. I don't feel the need to be baited into that fight.
For my example, I'm trying to tie this to what if you didn't know if the fight was even coming or not? Because like I'm not a hard solipsist, but I'm one of those, hey, maybe everything is just in the Matrix kind of people. And I just don't know if there is a God or not. I'm pretty sure there isn't, but I'm starting to think maybe I should start being more religious as a person in order to just hedge my bets. Pascal's wagers,
Right.
like which God do you believe in? Well, maybe.
Yeah, and I think we actually touched on this with the very first caller who called in and said, I am no longer a theist, but I still have these invasive thoughts about what if God is real? What if you're screwing this up? What if you're going to regret this forever? And as someone with anxiety, if you're going to, yes, that is a constant script that goes on in your head for everything, including God. I can't speak for you, but right, that's everything. Oh no, I hung up that call too quickly.
Yeah.
They probably hate me now and I'll never talk to them again. That's how we think about things. Right. And so, of course, you're going to be putting this on God as well, especially with the stakes are supposedly so high. But I want to ask you this. Why would you pick one religion over another when you're talking about Pascal's wager, right?
Good question. So not the first time I've seen the show. I figured y'all would go that way. And this is what I was thinking. Would I pick one in general?
And then after that, just so you know, we have like 10 minutes to share with you and to the next caller. So we want to try and...
Yeah, let's wrap this around.
Yeah.
I understand. Long story short, what I came down to was if I was going to pray to a God, the whole reason I'd be praying is because of the fear of hell or some afterlife. So the God that I should pray to is the absolute meanest, worst son of a bitch possible. And I thought about that.
That's funny.
Do some awful things.
Okay,
right.
so if you're going to go with Pascal's wager, you should be praying to the
absolute
one.
worst God possible. Yeah,
Because,
both Paulogia and Drew mentioned that in previous videos. Yeah, exactly. And then you just have to make a decision based on the evidence you have. Can you find evidence of that God? And if you think you have enough, then you make a decision. But first, you need to prove that God exists, right? It's not enough to just say it could be and then change your entire life around that.
I don't know. Well, here's the thing. I've decided, or is a final conclusion kind of, to pray or to live my life as I would imagine the meanest God that I would be willing to morally compromise myself to would allow. Does that make sense?
Right, but that doesn't fit Pascal's wager, though, right? That is hedging.
Well, it's all hedging. It's just degrees.
No, but like if you are going to go all for it and be like, no, I am going to worship the absolute worst God, so I avoid the absolute worst punishment. You can't back that up, or you might be worshiping the wrong God, and then you have the whole thing all over again.
Kildigs, feel free to hop into the Discord. We're going to try and hop in.
This might be a good conversation to bring over to the Discord.
I've been lurking there for a while, actually. Yeah,
awesome. So you know how to find it.
All right, sounds good. See you there. We'll continue this conversation.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it.
Yeah. The martyr thing is one that anyway, Victor in Florida, you've been on the line this entire time. And we want to talk to you, and I know we don't have a lot of time, so thank you for your patience. What did you want to talk about?
Oh, hey, thank you for taking my call.
Yeah. What do you want to talk
about? How are you guys doing?
Doing well, just wrapping up the show. It says that your parents believe that people with tattoos are children of Satan. And how do you convince them that it's wrong? Is that essentially what you wanted to call in about?
Yes.
Is there any other context you wanted to give it before we reply?
Yeah, so I've been an atheist for about a couple weeks. And when I lived with my parents, they saw that I had tattoos, and they were like showing me verses in the Bible, especially in Leviticus and things like that, saying that it's bad. I shouldn't put marks on my body. My body is the temple of God and stuff like that. So I guess my dad, mostly who does that speaking and preaching to me, has like a dogmatic view of that context, I guess. So I don't know how to go about trying to convince him otherwise.
Yeah, and I have two thoughts here, right? And they're kind of conflicting. So choose whichever one works the best for you. And we're gonna have to wrap this up, but I do want to stress two things. First of all, if you want to go the combative route, if you want to convince them and get into that argument, you can point out things like, do they watch football? If so, then they're breaking the commandments in Leviticus, because you're not supposed to touch the skin of a dead pig. And a football is made from pigskin. You can ask if they've ever, eaten shellfish, or if the fabric that they make clothes from are more than one solid material. Are they mixing fabrics? All of these things are very outdated, and we only pick and choose the ones that make us uncomfortable or that we like the best. So one route could be asking them, well, do you do all these other things? But, and here's where I'm going to leave you. If you've only been an atheist for a couple of weeks, and congratulations, welcome. Yes. You're here now. We're excited to have you. This is not the time to get into arguments, especially with people who you're emotionally connected to, especially with people who it sounds like have had a lot of experience kind of beating you down verbally and making you and giving you these arguments from their perspective. Right now, you are not obligated to talk with them about this. If you don't want to talk about it, you say you don't want to talk about it. Maybe we'll talk about this later. If they continue to talk about it, they are then breaking your boundaries, and you have a right to leave the house or say, I'll come back later, or say, hey, I'm only going to interact with you if you leave me alone on this subject. And if you don't, what happens next is your fault. And if I don't talk to you for a while, that's why. So I would say that right now, err on the side of protecting yourself, err on the side of setting boundaries, err on the side of saying, let's talk about this later. I'm not interested in this conversation. This is not something I find to be convincing. Please move on. Practice saying those things so that you can say them and hold your ground, because right now you need space. You don't need to be debating people. You need space to think. You need space to research. You need space to find out who you are outside of religion. And that's a huge job.
It takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And I just to add on to that, those are all examples of things that you can do, and you don't need other people to do. The idea, how can I convince somebody else? You can't. If somebody is absolutely stubborn, then, or they're not willing to have a conversation, you can't force them to. And so I love your examples, V, because they are things that Victor can do, but what it's not doing is trying to take ownership of somebody else's thoughts,
right? Because
they weren't able to convince them. So
if they don't want to be convinced, then they're not going to be, and that's not your fault.
Yep. That said, hopefully that helps, and thank you for staying on the line.
Yeah, and definitely check out all of the different social media sites, our Discord, our Facebook, our Reddit. We want to see you in there, and there are many, many, many people who've gone through exactly what you are going through right now who would love to talk with you.
Yep.
Yes.
Take it easy.
I think I signed up with your Patreon on YouTube.
Oh,
cool.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right.
You guys have a good day.
You too. He was nice.
Yeah.
That was incredibly well said. I didn't have other things to add. What you said was fantastic. I'm just like, yep, that. But we need to have a conversation. I want to talk to him more about martyrdom.
Well, that's a weird way to put it, but okay.
Anyway, we do want to go to the Discord, but first, can we see the crew? Because we have an amazing crew. They were here before us. They'll be here long after we finish. Hey, everybody!
Yay!
We love you. Thank you so much. We couldn't do this without you. Our crew is incredible. Thank you. Thank you for giving all of this time. If you want to see who they are, up at the top, we have Greg. Greg is our producer. He has been doing a whole bunch of awesome stuff and having meetings with us. Katie on the right side actually is the one who met with us and talked to us about screening the calls. The Lord of the Levels on the left has been here. he's the one who makes us sound good, and he's also a personal support, and so's Crew Kitty. We love you. Ben up in the corner is one of the hosts of the nonprofits, and
Be in the Discord later, won't you, Ben?
and also has been incredibly active in design, in making thumbnails, in producing. He's
If
had
you
his
like
hand in
those
producing.
thumbnails about Eric in a Star Trek uniform or me as a Magic the Gathering card, that's all Ben.
Ben is he's had his hands everywhere, and I think the ACA and our shows are better because of it. And at the bottom,
Got
is it
Kurt.
Kurt?
Yeah.
Kurt, welcome to the crew, man. We're glad that you're here. Alrighty. So for those people who, well, regardless of what you believe, we're moving into the winter, and COVID's just not going away yet.
Nope.
For those of you who are putting yourselves at risk so that the rest of us can still live comfortable lives, if that's working in a hospital, to stocking grocery shelves, to protesting, thank you.
Yep.
You're doing your job. We're going to do ours. We're going to wear fucking masks. For those
Like
of you,
badasses.
that's
I
right.
can't believe how many people don't want to wear wearing masks was like presented as like, this is the thing superheroes do. This is like the coolest you can be.
Right?
Like, come on, guys, be cool.
Yeah, wear a mask.
Be superheroes.
For those of you who don't believe, thank you. Thank you for being here. I loved, I mean, that last call, it really shows it. I mean, we think, oh, we have this conversation over and over and over again. And then we talk to somebody who just calls in, who's been brand new to this, who's just exploring these ideas,
Yeah.
who's 3 weeks,
Couple of weeks, yeah.
into it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And the fact that we're continuing to do that for each other and putting out content and creating and being involved in these communities is incredible. And we're so glad that you're here because it is all of us that are creating it.
Yeah.
So thank you. We're glad that you made it. But for those of you who do believe, we don't hate you. We just think you're wrong. See you next week.
Sorry, no love rings.
No love rings.
No love rings.
Oh no.
Not today.
People will love that.
Yeah, certainly
Yeah.
that will not bother anyone at all.
No, people won't just yell in the comments about the love ring the whole time.
They're sending love rings. 67 people are sending love rings.
What are we doing, man? What are we doing?
No, you're done.